The Russian Navy's only aircraft carrier, Admiral Kuznetsov, has now been out of active service for 8 consecutive years, highlighting both the technical challenges and strategic dilemmas facing Moscow's naval modernization efforts. Since entering dry dock in 2017 for a comprehensive overhaul, the troubled warship has been plagued by a cascade of accidents, delays, and cost overruns, leaving Russia without a functioning carrier in an era of rising global maritime competition. Commissioned in 1991 shortly before the dissolution of the Soviet Union, Admiral Kuznetsov is a symbol of Russia's ambitions to project naval air power. Unlike American nuclear-powered supercarriers, Kuznetsov is conventionally powered and uses a ski jump ramp rather than catapults to launch aircraft. While often criticized for its limitations in size, propulsion, and reliability, it remains a strategic asset due to its air wing and symbolic value. The vessel's most recent deployment occurred in late 2016 during Russia's intervention in the Syrian civil war. The mission showcased its limited power projection capabilities, but also exposed significant operational deficiencies. 2 aircraft, an Su-33 and a MiG-29K, were lost due to technical malfunctions involving the arrestor cables and carrier operations. Soon after returning from Syria, the carrier was docked for a full-scale modernization effort meant to extend its life through the 2030s. The refit, intended to upgrade its flight deck, propulsion systems, radar, and weapons suite, has turned into a protracted saga. Originally scheduled for completion in 2020, the timeline has been repeatedly pushed back due to a mix of poor planning, budget constraints, and industrial mishaps. One of the most damaging setbacks occurred in October 2018 when the massive floating dry dock PD-50 at the 82nd Shipyard in Roslyakovo sank during maintenance. A 70-ton crane collapsed onto Kuznetsov's deck, leaving a gaping hole and causing extensive damage. The incident also resulted in the death of a worker and injuries to others. Without the PD-50, the largest of its kind in Russia, work on the ship was severely hindered. Then, in December 2019, a fire broke out aboard the carrier during welding operations, killing 2 workers and injuring over a dozen others. The blaze caused further damage to already aging internal systems, particularly in the engine compartment and control rooms. Russian officials acknowledged the damage, but insisted it would not derail the restoration entirely. Further delays came from technical shortages, contractor issues, and financial constraints exacerbated by Western sanctions and the ongoing conflict in Ukraine. As of mid-2025, Russian officials have provided no firm date for the carrier's return to sea, although some reports suggest a possible relaunch as early as late 2026 or 2027, a full decade after work began. The prolonged absence of Admiral Kuznetsov has left a significant capability gap in Russia's naval aviation. While Russia has focused heavily on developing land-based air power and hypersonic missile systems, the lack of a functioning carrier limits its blue water ambitions, particularly in the Mediterranean, Indian Ocean, and the Asia-Pacific regions. Moreover, the situation underscores deeper problems within Russia's naval industrial base. Once a formidable shipbuilding power during the Soviet era, modern Russia has struggled to maintain complex surface combatants like carriers and cruisers. The domestic industry lacks sufficient capacity, especially after the loss of key Ukrainian shipyards and propulsion manufacturers following the 2014 annexation of Crimea. Despite these challenges, Russian defense officials continue to publicly reaffirm their commitment to restoring Admiral Kuznetsov. Some military analysts view this as more of a political statement than a practical one, pointing to the carrier's symbolic importance as a representation of Russia's status as a great power. However, questions remain about whether the resources spent on the aging vessel could be better invested in more modern platforms such as nuclear submarines, frigates, or long-range missile systems. If Admiral Kuznetsov does return to service in the coming years, it will likely operate with a mixed air wing of modernized Su-33s and MiG-29Ks, both capable of precision strikes and fleet defense. Upgraded air defenses, including the Panzer M system and possibly Caliber cruise missiles, are expected to be part of the overhaul. However, even with these upgrades, Kuznetsov will remain a solitary and aging platform in a world where multi-carrier fleets and advanced drone integration are becoming the norm. By contrast, the United States, China, and even India are pushing ahead with new carrier programs and next-generation naval aircraft. Unless Russia can develop and fund a follow-on carrier, an ambitious goal given current economic and geopolitical pressures, Admiral Kuznetsov may represent both the beginning and the end of Russian carrier aviation in the post-Soviet era. As Admiral Kuznetsov languishes in dry dock for the 8th year in a row, its saga is emblematic of broader challenges facing the Russian military-industrial complex. The dream of carrier-based power projection remains alive in Russian doctrine, but the reality has proven stubbornly difficult. Whether the carrier will ever return to operational status, and whether it will be relevant in modern naval warfare when it does, remains to be seen. For now, Russia's once proud flagship stands as a floating reminder of unrealized naval ambition.